Hello, hello, hello. Hello, sound volume levels. Hello, and we're back with more Dwarf Fortress. Waiting for the screen to catch up here. And it's doing it now. Okay, so let's see what we're doing a little better by zooming in. There we go. That helps. And let's see, try to make the text bigger by saying military and zoom in on this. Should affect the other text. Yeah, there we go. And that can be smaller. All right. So when we last left off, I was showing a brief tour of the fort, and we had done the top, and we had done the mines, and we did the forging area, the magma forges, and we did the bedrooms, so we're almost done. When we kind of did this main mushroom tavern area here. Let's see. Although, didn't really look at all the cool decorations in the mushroom farm kind of area. But let's see. I'm not really sure where the cool ones are, so rather than waste any time with that, I'm going to move on to the few areas we didn't talk about yet, which is we have a library here, and I'm a little bit surprised that Aquaman, Duke of Swampcavern, isn't here, because for some reason he spends a lot of time in the library. But what we do have is a bunch of scholars discussing the pulley, and if they do this for long enough, they might actually invent the pulley or write books about it. Let's see. This guy is a human bard. It's a woman, actually, and her name is Toast. And I laugh because I named a character in Kenshi that just recently, so kind of a recurring thing with me. I wonder if there's a reason why in this case. All right. Now here we have a character named Chicken. And to me, that's a warning not to put this guy in my military. I guarantee you anything, he's got the trait, will run from even the most necessary of battles. So sometimes I name my guys Scaredy or Fraidy or just something to remind me not to put him in the military because they would be terrible at it. Lord Consort, P-Bang Shootmoot. That is a male. That sounds like a elf name to me. And we let in a bunch of nobles from other nations in an attempt to increase our political power in the world. And of course, that's pretty much role-playing on my part, but it's, everyone's got kind of this headcanon thing they do to explain what they see in their Dwarf Fortress worlds. Yeah, there's a kind of a weird overlap between Dwarf Fortress and Kenshi, between the bad guys showing up, whether it's the goblins or the monsters or whatever, and then they both kind of have the tower defense aspect of shooting archers from a fortified position or whatever. So, I mean, it's almost as if Kenshi drew a little inspiration from Dwarf Fortress. Although those are the parts I like about it, so can't really complain. Over here we have a very unique individual in the fort. It's Nurzung, the goblin, and she is a poet, and she came to us with a group. I think their name was the Strange Plants. It was a musicians troupe, and we let them in because their name was so funny. But Nurzung has kind of a history of depression because she is a goblin, and we have killed so many goblins in this fort, and everyone in the whole fort somehow always saw it. Like every battle, every person in the fort saw every goblin that got killed. And that made Nurzun really quite upset for the longest time, to the point where she would routinely go to the office of Aquaman, the Baron of Swampcavern, and cry on his shoulder, more or less, or yell at him. I imagine the conversation went something like this: "Stop killing all the goblins!" And then she'd feel better about it, and then Aquaman, strangely enough, enjoyed these meetings because it made him feel useful. So they know each other well because she's been in his office many times, mostly to say stop killing all the goblins, probably. Who else is hanging out in the library? Geese fur, obviously they like the geese. Chicken, I mentioned. Human, who's never renamed. Pandivine. They're reading something. Let's see. They're reading A Course on the Center. I'm curious about that activity, so I will view the activity. This is a giant dingo parchment quire. All our books are written on quires because I'm afraid if we bind them, we'll destroy them. That was a bug that was going around, especially in this version. That's the problem. Written on the item is a manual entitled A Course on the Center, authored by Geesver. It concerns the theory that the sun moves around the world. The writing has a very serious tone. Overall, the prose is not awful, but not very good either. Good for you. Pandivine is reading the quire of the author who's standing right next to him. How often do you get to do that? Gookie, the human scholar, are you one of us, or are you just visiting? I don't actually know. We do have at least 10 visitors in the fort at the moment. Here's Kemus Osaliche, the human poet. He is a male, and he's not doing anything. He must be one of ours. I can tell because for some reason our guys like to come to the library and hang out and do no jobs. I mean, I started that sentence before I clicked on the guy, right? Hornbill the scribe, currently not doing anything. All right, Toast is going to get a drink. I wonder what happens if I let time run. Let's find out. Oh, I wonder if she is a spy. There were villains in this version. There were the plots and the bad guys. It's just they're not really hooked up to the world in this version. So I was just curious what the frames per second would drop to, because under good conditions, it was running reasonably well, but good conditions don't including me running broadcasting software and internet tabs so I can see what I'm doing, how many viewers I have, if I have any comments. So these are actually very bad conditions, and it's still running kind of. It's not good. 10 frames per second. At least the little dudes are visibly moving around doing stuff. Could be way worse, actually. I don't know. For me, playable is 13 to 15 to 18 range because I did that for the longest time. 20 is much nicer. 23 is actually pretty pleasant. And on up from there, I only ever achieve its starting forts. So, yeah, 30 frames per second is great. But and then I know some people have it cranked up so that it's even faster than that at the start. But I don't like that because little dudes zip around so fast you can't tell what's happening. Right now what's going on is people are wandering in and out of rooms. Water is falling down a waterfall. Someone cooked a masterpiece. Let's see. So I wonder what other rooms I have in the fort that I haven't talked about yet. I know the temple was in there somewhere. And here it is. It's almost like they went there on purpose, which I did not. This is a temple to no particular deity. The dwarves have 10 or 11 different ones. I think I put up a statue to all of them sooner or later. Let's see if that's true. Crystal glass statue of Stukos. Oh, except I just accidentally selected someone. A lady. literally noble from some civilization. Enter to view description. This is a crystal glass statue of Stukos. The item is an image of Stukos, the deity of chaos, depicted as a male dwarf and three dwarves in crystal glass by Screamhorse Gatizlakok. Stukos is fighting with the three dwarves. Well, you know, he's the deity of chaos. What did you expect? Let's see. We have a few tables, few chairs. We took the time to make a statue to each of the major dwarves deities. I could go and make an individual temple to each of them, but right now my idea is I'd much rather go and make a big water park. I was kind of thinking of something with waterfalls, maybe its own stream or a pond or even a fountain. I was thinking of trying to create a fountain in Dwarf Fortress. Which I would achieve by just having a reservoir of water on one level that would go down to a place set up for it deliberately to appear and then drain away safely, but where the dwarves could see it. Maybe it could generate mist. I don't know. Over here we have a meeting place specifically for dwarves. It's in the heart of the fort. I wanted a place my guys could go to eat that wasn't one of the taverns, because one of the problems with the taverns we've been having is werebeasts keep appearing in them, including the one in the middle of the heart of our fortress. And we've been losing people that way, which... Yeah, you mentioned it's close to FPS death. I brought this fort back from the brink of FPS death to advance time the way I did to get my giant tigers to finally grow up and become more breeding pairs. I did every trick in the book. I killed animals. We're doing it now. We're sacrificing giant cave spiders because we have too many to make the FPS bounce back. Is there a way to make a flow that doesn't go past 3.7 or 4.7? Absolutely. Usually you can achieve deliberate levels by making a reservoir of one size and then having it go to the area you're actually trying to use. And if it doesn't turn out to be the right level, change it by making it either bigger or smaller to get the effect you're going for. Because it's not easy to calculate, but you can get there by experimentation with just a little fiddling around. For instance, FPS is really good in this game if you can get a lot of 7 water level depth, because then it's not constantly calculating depth changes. Here I have this waterfall that's falling through many, many levels, and then it falls through a kind of safety level of nothing but pillars. Here, it's right next to the well room. And then down below it, it's draining off the map, and it just barely reaches, but it does. And that means it's not the worst for FPS that you could get. I would say drying up somewhere by the end would probably be about the worst you could get for FPS for water flow. But this thing is here, you see this wall that was built in, because when I first built this thing, this hallway was too wide and the water wasn't making it off screen. It is actually making it off screen. You can tell by these little blue squares over here. If we dumped in a little bit more water from the river, we could get some of the depths up here that aren't being displayed right now, but these aren't all 7s. Somewhere back here there's probably a 7 in this little area here. And then there's also even a thing that goes down as the reservoir for the well room above it. So one thing I'm pretty good at is the water mechanics in the game. I can reroute rivers, drain lakes, move lakes. That's one part I have pretty good experience with, that and lava. Yeah, I mean, like I once made a lake for, I made a lot of, we had tame cave crocodiles. We had like 210 of them. And I made a little swimming pool for them to swim around in. I thought they might like it, you know, and I managed to do it without destroying the fort. Although I've also ended forts with water accidents, so there is that. Here we have one of the taverns I never talked about in the first 2 parts of the stream. This is meant to be sort of an exhibition hall or a stage, or a play space. And at the moment, no doubt, they're using it for something like that. This guy is socializing, socializing. There's a deliberate wood area stage over here. Oh, yeah. In one fort, we did have, we tried launching the 200 cave crocodiles at the goblins, but they didn't have any backup. And the goblins had armor. So unfortunately, the cave crocodiles mostly would fight the goblins and would bite them, and their bites weren't really getting through the armor. And meanwhile, the goblins were pretty good at killing cave crocodiles that didn't have any dwarves or anything for backup. Where I've also had war rhinoceroses fighting side by side with my dwarves in a narrow hallway, and they did great. They barely took a scratch, but then again, they had a lot of backup and help. So what we have here is a row of chairs and tables so that you can sit here and eat your dinner and watch the play or the dancing or whatever is going on at the time. If you go up a level, there's a balcony area that looks down into the space and has a clear view of it. One side was the barons and the other side was the mayors, and they had to be closed down because they were too popular. And when we were trying to make the dwarves dance, instead, everyone was hanging out with the baron or hanging out with the mayor, as if they were deliberately trying to gain political power or something. And let's see, do we understand Pamud wrote Gale? I'm such a tangent-oriented person. I can't help but get led off in funny, different little ways, like when people are talking to me or when I stumble across random stuff. So let's get into it a little bit. Oh yeah. See, there's an idea about dropping goblins into water or stunning them. I know falling water certainly hurts things because the waterfall in this fort occasionally hits a dwarf badly enough to make him bleed and leave blood in the hallway. But overall, I think the waterfall through the heart of the fort is worth it because it makes people so happy. Whatever incidental injuries are sustained are few and far between enough that I think it's fine. um, so here we have these balconies, and they're decorated with statues that mean something to us. Often they're probably going to be politicians or just things we like. Yeah, a statue of a person. Statue of dwarves. I don't even have to look at it. It's going to be dwarves laboring or traveling for the founding of Swampcavern, because so many of these are going to be. Anarchy is one of ours. Gabbro Gear Assembly. This is something made from a strange mood. It has a name. I'm sure it's got all sorts of properties. Let's see. Oh, this one was fairly early on, so it's only made of lead, cave spider silk, bands of oval gabbro cabochons, lead, oval clear zircon cabochons, alpaca wool, and date palm wood. Only. I say that because later artifacts in Swampcavern were made by people who had already made an artifact, so they had so much skill in it that they would just pile up materials before they started going, and it would be made out of 10 or 20 things. We got some pretty crazy artifacts eventually. And if this isn't enough, on top of this layer is another balcony with a clear view of the whole thing below it. So this is 3 layers up with the whole ceiling dug through so they can see down below. And all these walls with the fancy decorations on them are most of them are things that happened in this fort or in this biome. And here is that ever popular goblin getting killed by an elf, because that was one of the few early things that happened in history. And there was this jaguar that killed an elf, and it was one of my dwarf's favorite subjects to make sculptures of or make carvings of. Here is a giant bat killing an elf in really cruelty. That would be a different city or area, but in the same swamp that we live in the midsummer of '53. Uh, I think we started this fort around the year or oh wait, no, we started this fort around the year 25. So that was 75 years before the fort was even founded, and somehow my guys know about it. Yeah. See, I experimented with generating my own worlds a little bit, and for whatever reason, I kept running into too many rejected worlds, and I just didn't have a lot of success with that. The one thing I cared about the most was I wish I could open up the caves just a little bit because I don't really like those crazy maze-like caves. I always end up having my guys just burrow through them to make hallways so that they can get through them faster. They're just kind of a pointless obstacle as far as I'm concerned. If it was up to me and I tried to make it be, the cave hallways would be just a little bit more open than they are. I don't mind 3 cave layers. My mentor prefers to just make one big cave layer and make it even way more big and open, but only just have one giant one of them so as not to deal with 3 of them. Uh, I kind of enjoy the variety of crazy stuff you get from the different levels of monsters. Um, one thing we've never even looked at right now, that's what's going on in this fort, would be either what are people doing, or what are, let's see, there's a couple things to look at. We can see what the nobles are doing. We can see what the reports have been about. Sparring. Those fighting reports are probably so old that there's not going to be anything on them. Although, I don't know, maybe I should be wondering what the Administrator Mamba Spear was fighting. Oh yeah, that's just what I thought. Well, okay, let's go see, is Mamba Spear hurt? Let's see. Or is that the most entertaining thing I should be doing? Maybe I should finish my tour. If you ever have any questions about what you're looking at or why I do what I do, shout them out, because I do like to explain what you're seeing. I know not everyone uses the same tile set, for instance. Some of my viewers don't even play Dwarf Fortress. So there is that. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I've had forts where I don't know that I've ever even seen a cave dragon. I've had mighty hunters sneak off and slay them when I wasn't looking. I've had hunters that were so successful they got many cave dragons killed before they themselves were killed by them sooner or later, inevitably, or by something. And yeah, speaking of taming and capturing a dragon, this fortress has one. We have breeding families of giant tigers, and we have Uzmo, the hot jade luxury of glowing, our own personal dragon, along with our rock, and a family of war giant elephants. And let's see, somewhere in here, oh, like, check it out, we've got so many giant cave spiders that people are taking them off. Oh, this guy has escaped, so he needs to be penned and pastured. That's great. Giant cave spiders are wandering the fort on their own again. I wish I knew why that keeps happening. That could become dangerous sometime if they ever become so untamed. And then we've got this ridiculous box of animals. Stray war giant cheetah, stray giant tigers, stray giant tiger cub. Wow, we really should let these guys out sometime. But they'd hurt our FPS, so no, I'm not going to do that. Let's see. Oh, I never really showed the entrances to the caves. I always would build these sort of siege entrances, and they were a little bit modeled on ones I'd seen other people build. And my one regret with these is that if I did this again, is I would just build them bigger or longer, or maybe with some bends in them. What we've got here is a cave absolutely chock filled with cave spider silk, which is hurting my FPS a little bit, but at least there can't be any more of it. And it's just completely overrun with cave spiders. You can see they're here, they're everywhere. They're inside my base. They're building their cave spider silk over my traps, and I like that. I'm hoping forgotten beasts or something terrible will walk through that. Although, I don't know, it seems to me I've seen that not work. Yeah, yeah. The rock is one of the single biggest mega beasts in the entire game. In fact, I think it is the biggest by size. And then we've got so many cave spiders, we use them to chain them up in the entrances to our fort like watchdogs. We've got a wild, hostile giant cave spider that could be released to attack things that come in here. Yeah, they would fight us, but they'd fight whatever else is in here first, and we can seal this off. And then going up one level, we've got the fortifications, so we can fire down with archers into this hallway. And if you've ever seen any of my videos where we battle forgotten beasts that wander in from the caves, what you've seen again and again is my archers come down here, they shoot through the fortifications, the forgotten beasts walk across the trapless like they're nothing, which they should do, and then they fight my giant cave spiders like they're nothing, which seems a little unfair. But in all fairness, I often have a civilian alert going, and unfortunately that makes the chained up animals go nuts. They try to go to the civilian alert, and they're not in it, and so sometimes they don't attack. In fact, they often don't attack. And the few times I've ever seen a giant cave spider fight a forgotten beast or whatever wanders in from the caves, it's because I forgot to put the civilian alert on. And that's happened enough times that we've gotten to see it several times. But or sometimes I'll switch it off. Sometimes I'll actually remember to do that, but that's like the least likely scenario. So this is what not just this one, but many of the entrances to the caves looks like. So yeah, you're going to see weird bits of cave spider silk web all over the interior of the fort as well, including sometimes the occasional cave spider. Oh yeah, forgotten beast traps. See, very early on in this fort's history, um, one of those bronze colossi showed up, and we had cage traps in the front entrance, but we didn't have any cave spiders yet. But I was just hoping if we could run it over enough cage traps, by pure coincidence, it might fall into one. Because I know there's like a 1 in 1,000 chance, or the better the mechanism is, the better the chance that there is. So yeah, they're not supposed to fall in, but it's not impossible either. In fact, I know if they run over a whole field over them, inevitably, sooner or later, they will fall in. So I really wanted to capture this bronze colossus to use for target practice. I've seen people do it. They had it set up so that their people would train with wood pellets, which would never hurt this thing. So it was an infinite target practice thing. And the bronze colossus was trapped in part of the base where they had then put fortifications in. Mind you, this was an after the fact thing. They had trapped it in there. Yeah, yeah, you can, and if you have enough of them, it's inevitable. It's just a matter of luck. Or I think if you had a masterwork mechanism, then your odds wouldn't be that bad, or maybe you'd be automatic. I'm not, yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on that, but there's some math there. And so, anyways, I was hoping, really hoping to catch this bronze colossus. Except this was like year 5 in our fort's history, which would have made it year 130 in this world. And our axe user, our captain, Crow Girl, says, I'm going to go kill the bronze colossus. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to stand here. You're going to wait for reinforcements. We're all going to group up and we're all going to go and attack at the same time. She says, no, no, I'm not. I see it out there. I'm going to go kill it. I've got a steel axe. Oh, why, militia? Why will you not obey an order? Look, the civilians are obeying their orders. They're all cowering from this bronze colossus. Just stay here, let it come to us, go in the front entrance, and maybe fall into a trap. Nope. She runs out, swings at it a couple times, dodges a couple times, and kills it herself personally. And she didn't do it alone. She dragged one or two volunteers out, one of whom paid with their lives. So she used some cannon fodder as cannon fodder. Uh, but she herself survived without a scratch. And then like dinged the thing with her steel axe and then chopped it in two, and it turned into beautiful statue of forgotten beasts made by unknown artisans. And I just thought, ooh, that's the coolest thing. It's a who in the mystery shrouded time of the past forged this strange bronze colossus to wander the world. But yeah, so that's I'm so charmed by this game. That's part of why I like it so much. I love the little history generation thing of it. I love the storytelling thing of it. Oh yeah, it's the thing is the bronze colossus thing is working better than ever because you really can say, all right, everybody use wooden bolts now, and they should do it if you set up right. And then you really actually can say everyone switch to metal ammunition now. And given that they will run over and switch to it, currently that's working better than it has in the past. It's easier to do. In the most current version of Dwarf Fortress that I've played in, getting your little dudes to actually put their armor on, I have never seen it go more smoothly before. You know, and I haven't seen people say it improved over the versions, but the last time I told my dwarves to put their armor on in one of the more recent versions, way more recent than the swamp cavern world we're in at the moment, I've never seen it go so smoothly before. So a lot of stuff changes, especially with the Steam updates coming and the improvements and the storytelling in the world. There's always a lot to keep up with. Everyone in the game knows different stuff, which so even kind of master level players, you know, some are architects, they're great at that. Some are wonderful with the military, but have sort of crude forts. It's one of those games that's so complicated. It's as individual as the people that play it. No two players do play it exactly the same way alike, although there are styles similar enough that you could break them up into classes, like a warrior type player, an architect type player. You could play for making your fort be a bastion of knowledge of people who write and are poets or dance or whatever. You could be a warlord. I know that's a popular one, where your main focus is building up a military and raiding. And you don't even have to build up that effective of a military because it's so highly. You send dudes out on raids, and the raid is not real simulated in terrible much detail. It's a little bit more mathematical, and so unfortunately, having super trained guys and super armored doesn't matter that much, but having trained up people with certain skills kind of does, and that's a gaming aspect you could probably do. Oh, let's see here. That's uh, oh no, come back. All right, this is just gonna be wonky for a second. Bear with me. I'm trying to make something work properly. So, yeah, like one of the different styles of the game you can play is super cheaty, and I haven't seen a lot of people play it that way. In fact, I've only seen one, my Dwarf Fortress mentor, who turns on absolutely all the cheats in the game, gives himself maximum amounts of stuff to start the fortress with, even well beyond what you can do in game, mind you. And that's a lot, because even in game you can give yourself tons of stuff just by going in and turning it up, even from the in-game menu, or by altering a simple text file in a folder somewhere. I'm well aware it's that easy to do. So, oh, well, okay, so here's the thing. The current version, the rain is just crazy. If your dwarves get rained on, they go nuts, and then they think about it over and over to the point where they may have personality changes. And I have played in that version. And the thing is, if you create a moderately happy, satisfying fort fast enough, you still can make your guys happy enough. But damn, you kind of have to be a good player to do that. It's like well beyond the reach of a starting player. A starting player is just not going to be able to achieve that. But middling players and players with the years of experience beyond me, which there's many. I mean, half the Dwarf Fortress players in the world probably have more years of experience than I do. But, and they're the ones that are going to get around that easily. But so yeah, even in the most current version of Dwarf Fortress, as crazy and sulky as they are, I played in the earlier version where they were just nuts. But okay, so yeah, hang on. I'm gonna the screen's just gonna flicker for a second. Let's see. Okay, I wish there was some other way around that, but unfortunately my dual monitor setup is not the best. I haven't figured out how to optimize it yet. So, yeah, the thing is, I I did some recording recently with my Dwarf Fortress mentor, and eventually I'm gonna have to put these videos up, although I need to edit them a bit because they're kind of long form stuff and they're sort of rambly. There's some long planning sections I think the average viewer would be pretty bored by. And there's also a part where I'm eating. I'm eating a bowl of cereal or something. I think I'll edit that part out. But anyways, we recorded the Maximum Cheaty style, and I'm going to do a video coming up on just how to do that, which will be a relatively short video. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's here we go again. Oh, yeah. Go ahead and tell me about the things to do together, because I'm sure it would be excellent content. All right, so yeah, I can't help but chat a little bit. I know I said in the earlier thing I wasn't going to do that too much, and I don't think I have been. I wish there was some other way, but and I don't know what you did to make the Dwarf Fortress gods angry, but you did something. What's going on here? Oh, I never really finished my architecture tour, except I am almost finished because I'm running out of things. I did the surface. I did the part where my guys are training. Now I'm just wandering my fort trying to see if something jumps out at me that I missed, because I know there is. Oh, I put my empty animal cages next to my animal collected cages. I wonder where I got that little tick from. Let's see. Oh, the garbage pit area is just a horror show. There's so many goblins and bits of stuff in there. In the older versions of Dwarf Fortress, people would have had nervous breakdowns just walking into that. Of course, they also would have been seeing some of their dead cousins in there too, probably. Although this one's got no shortage of leftover goblins from sieges. And here's the thing is, I don't make my guys clean up the crap too much. I just delete it out of the world in stacks and stacks. But I do make them go back and clean over the leftover little bits. I'm too lazy to. So, yeah, let's see. All right. Oh, the screen is being so slow to catch up. I wonder if what I'm saying is even being said in real time. Oh yeah, Kenshi content. That would be one of the easiest and most natural things for me to stream. I'd have to work a way around the Kenshi being crashy, but I'm pretty sure that could easily be done by breaking it into small chunks or something. Because, yeah, Kenshi, I could just talk about what I'm doing and play it for hours and hours. That would be such a natural. Huh. I don't know. My internet connection says it was good, and well, yeah, I could check, but no, I'm not going to. I don't know. It's just weird. I can see it being weird. I'm watching my camera feed, and the camera feed's being slow to catch up, and it always is a little bit, But I mean really slow. I mean, like I make a change and I'm still waiting for it. Okay, I think there it went. Yeah, it should be way faster than that. Normally it's like part of a second. Oh, I was curious about this. What happens? Here's a guy, he's being penned or pastured. He's dropping off a giant cave spider. He leaves it in the pen or pasture. Does the giant cave spider immediately leave? Is my question. Giant cave spider trained has been slaughtered. Here's the giant cave spider. I'm going to follow them. Letting it run, letting it run. The guy's walking down the hallway. The giant cave spider is thinking about something. I can tell. I can just see the look in its beady little eyes. He's thinking about going towards the doorway. He's made no other moves. Here we go. Pen and pasture, what? I'm a giant cave spider. I'm just going to walk around the fort. What are you going to do, stupid dwarfs? Here we go. Yep, walking right through the door. Doot, doot, doo. Gonna become untamed and spray webs, bite someone's head off. Except that giant cave spiders aren't that much of a match for the dwarves of Swampcavern. Sure, you can pick off an easy one, but the crossbows can pick you off from a distance. And some of my guys can wade through webs. They'd still struggle, but yeah, they could do it. Oh, my guys are complaining. Oh, what? How hostile was that giant cave spider that when it tries to escape, it falls into a cage trap? That doesn't seem like a good thing. All right. Well, I hope that was entertaining. Oh, let's see. All right. Well, yeah, the internet is fickle. Earlier on, I was getting conflicting information from YouTube. I could just look at it and it was telling me two different things at the same time. So I'm like, I don't know which information to believe here. And then let's see. So going on down, oh yeah, we have so much adamantine stuff. We've got some of it sitting around. Have you ever seen a fort live long enough that it actually wears out the adamantine armor? Because now you have. This is one of them. This fort is a little bit more than 25 years old, and somewhere in here we've got some adamantine that's actually worn out and needs to be melted down and reforged or something. Oh, Dr. Barbie, one of the starting seven. I haven't even touched on the starting seven yet. I wanted to talk about some of the individual people because if you got to know who some of the main characters were, then you might care what happens to them in the in the upcoming episodes of Swampcavern Live. What are you doing? You have no job. But oh yeah, a lot of the dwarves that have no jobs get them quickly. Oh, see, now you're storing an item in a stockpile. Let's follow you for a little bit. Dr. Barbie was was our chief medical dwarf early on, and no one ever really came along who was better than her. She got more skill. Oh, yep, here comes the cave spider being put back in the pasture again. That's going to last for 5 whole seconds. I can just tell. What, you got to replace the cage or something? Wee, says the giant cave spider as it runs down the hallway again. Oh, okay, yeah, Dr. Barbie's carrying around a pile of ash or lead bars or something. Okay, so the starting seven, I have a curse of the starting seven. And curse is a strange word to use because in most of my forts, the starting seven live. And they survive while everyone else around them sometimes dies. Or they watch more and more of the migrants die than any of the starting dudes. And yes, that is partly because my earliest miners, even though they are good, I retire them because they also have more valuable skills that I want to save their lives for in case of accidents or dangerous situations. However, at some point it just becomes pure coincidence or weirdness that whatever random werebeast in the fort or whatever doesn't pick them off. Oh yeah. Yeah, see, that's just it. Is it's hard to find dwarves that are more experienced than mine, but the archcrystal ones blow mine out of the water because they have literally hundreds of years experience on them. So it's just a matter of time, basically. But I haven't seen a lot of dwarven fortresses in the world with with more experienced dwarves than mine. Let's see. Oh, I had to question how many different backup saves of Swampcavern do you have? I have a couple where they were dancing early on, so I have some earlier versions of Swampcavern. I have one where I retired Swampcavern because I thought I had to look at the history of the world or have it be as current as possible, and that might actually be true. I've got the one, a different one that this is being based off of. I don't know. I've got quite a few. I even have some ones going earlier back in time than that I named, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. So there are different backup saves, and they're even saved to a different hard drive than most of them. Let's see here. Hang on. I gotta see if I had to fiddle with this for a second. What? Do something. Do something. Do something. Do something. Okay, I had a question. What skill levels are your dwarfs? Excellent, excellent question. Um, Many of them are legendary in something or another, although for many of them it's cooking or masonry or building. I have a few legendary people making clothes. Um, I don't really work to train up people too much to be the best at what they do, with the exceptions of a weaponsmith or an armor crafter. Those are the two things where I have very few of those, so the ones that I do have are very good. So they mostly make masterpiece kinds of things. Um, let's see, I could take a look at the military. If you want to see the most powerful dwarf I have, that would be the leader of the Axis of Felling. That would be Crow Girl. Can I get to her fast from here? Or let's see. Um, what am I thinking? Here we go. I'm thinking search CR Crow Girl. Where are you, Crow Girl? You're sleeping. Oh, how cute. Okay, let's see your kills list. Ah, Crow Girl, our original militia captain, the very first year we were here, she killed 2 giant jumping spiders that were a threat to the very early fort. She has 13 notable kills. She has 121 other kills, some of which I promise are equally notable. And I'm thinking some of her data has been lost along the way. I think she's actually killed more things than this. Okay. Hey, thanks for stopping by, man. I really appreciate it. The support's been great. Uh, Thanks for everyone who's been here chatting with me and stuff. So I'll talk to you soon, Chris. So I do use Dwarf Therapist actually because it allows me to assign jobs quickly and easily, and I don't use the in-game thing too much. Um, at the start of the game, I tend to assign lots of people to tasks. In the middle of the game, I start dumping more and more people into the military or making lots of furnace operators or builders or kind of unskilled dudes. And then in the end of the game, I start just dumping more and more people into the military when I'm not really building as much or digging as much. Mining is another thing a lot of people get dumped into. I don't care if they're skilled or not. I just want it done. But then I might retire some of the more experienced ones to save their lives, again, from dangerous digging conditions or whatever. So yeah, Crow Girl, she's killed 2 forgotten beasts personally. She's killed the Bronze Colossus against all orders. She was even fired from the military at the time, and she went and did it anyways. And then she was immediately reinstated because she was too powerful not to have as the leader. She's killed elf leaders of goblin sieges. She's killed whole waves of lesser beings, like Crundles herself personally. 32 male Crundles, 35 Crundles, not all at once, mind you, but maybe 12 at a time in some cases. Uh, One giant bat, and those things fly, and she's an axe user. This axe user has taken down a giant bat. Those things are mean. Those are some dwarf killing things. One giant honey badger, we get 2 to 4 a year. They wander in the front door, and they are huge. They're the size of bears, but they don't usually make much of an impression on the military of Swampcavern anymore. But the thing is, they have 25 years of experience. They have adamantine armor. They have silver hammers, and then they have literally hundreds of goblins kills to their names. A grand total of literally thousands of goblin kills. We've depleted the goblin pits around us that we live by, and there's 7 or 8 of those. And at the start of the game, they had literally hundreds of goblins in each of their pits, and now they have literally tens. We have personally depopulated the local goblin population, so that's kind of a rare thing. Let's see. So who else? One thing I was looking at was yeah, here, hang on. I've been talking for so long, my voice is starting to go, and I am coming up on the hour mark. And I think I probably will wrap up around the hour mark. Do you Atom Smash your trash area? Yeah, I literally do have an Atom Smasher that I was using for the longest time, especially at the start of the game. But then later on, I just started using what is it, the little cheat thing to just delete stuff out of the world. Because what's the difference between atom smashing and deleting trash? Atom smashing, you have to have your guys carry it to there and raise and drop a lever. And I just, so a lot of stuff, I find junk on their bedrooms, and I was literally personally going through and deleting it out. Although part of the reason why they still have so much junk in their bedrooms is some of it even I was emotionally attached to. Like, you're going to find the occasional, not artifact item, but 1 or 2 or 3 of a kind item in this world. And by that I mean, here's somewhere there's going to be a thing made out of forgotten beast silk. And the only forgotten beast silk my guys have access to was that was sprayed at them in combat at one point. And there were only 3 things of it. And they picked it up and they made a scarf and mittens out of it. And even though it's worn out junk on their floor, I was like, it's a forgotten beast silk thing. I can't bear to part with it. I don't know. They get it from me. Let's see. I wonder if here's a militia captain, Xanag Asmnon. Which one are you? You are. Well, let's see. What have you been doing? Oh yeah. See, like I wasn't that fussy about not putting a females in my army. I tried not to do it, but I didn't try super hard. If qualified people came in that were women, they got dumped in the military. I mostly didn't draft them. And then towards the end, maybe I did a few more just to soak up. Part of it was for FPS reasons. The more people I have sitting around doing military practice, the better for the FPS, strangely enough. It's just because they're all doing the one task and they're not sitting around constantly getting new jobs or pathing. The pathing becomes pretty minimal on military training. And I have to point out, here is a dwarf who is absolutely normal for my fort, even despite the fact that we haven't been doing as much killing lately, because the number of things that there are to kill has been diminished greatly lately. So she is blissful after sleeping in a very good bedroom. She didn't feel anything after seeing a Crundle die, didn't feel anything after seeing a hungry head die, etc., 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 to a ridiculous degree. I mean, look how long these pages are. They're almost all didn't feel anything. Why didn't she feel anything? Because eventually all these people have seen so much horrible stuff that they get this tag that they're hardened. And then and they literally become hardened to all the killing and all the gore and all the terrible things that in Swampcavern happens on a daily basis. So we've got a lot of people who should be traumatized, and that's why having legendary chefs and waterfalls and legendary artifacts and personal bedrooms is kind of needed, because otherwise these people would all have melted down a long time ago. And instead we've swung that so far the other way that when my guys were worn out from doing too many tasks. The military guys had too many standing around orders. Everyone had a few too many building orders. When I gave them a vacation break, they went from moderately happy to ecstatic. They all ran off and filled those unfulfilled needs. They went to the temple and they went to the library and they got in those hours on the stuff they'd all not been doing. And when they had plugged in those little bit of things that they hadn't been doing, they're like, oh, this almost makes up for the fact that our relatives outside in the world outside are almost all dead and we miss them. And the Dwarven Empire is collapsing and we're the last dwarves in the world. And even here, we miss people that used to live here because we've had a few werebeasts lately, and we're down a couple dwarves. So let's see, how are we doing? Oh yeah, I love the display items. And pedestals is one thing that I don't think is in the edition that I'm playing in, because I took Swampcavern about as far as I could. And so it started in a earlier version 2 years soon, and it was still compatible all the way up through the Villains update. But partway through the Villains update, there was kind of a break where I think they added mythology to it or something, where the worlds, I think they just don't work anymore. Because if they could, I would drop Swampcavern into the most modern version of Dwarf Fortress, so I could see how the most modern version of Armok Vision runs with it. I can run Armok Vision with this version, but the more recent version is so much nicer and less demanding on your system. Right now, if I fired it up, if I did too much with it, it would pretty much guarantee a crash, and that would be not just the end of the stream, but I would lose the footage as well, because I have to stop recording the stream currently with my setup to stop recording, and I need to stop recording for it to encode properly, or I lose the whole thing. And speaking of that, I am coming up on the hour mark, so I think I am going to do my hour thing, so I have a few more minutes. So if you've got any more questions for me, now is the perfect time to ask. Let's see, what version is this? I think there's an easy way to find out. I think it says somewhere around here. Let's see, or do I have to go to the menu for that? Oh, you know what? Check out one of my videos, or I know I say somewhere. You know what? I'll find out and I'll leave a comment in this video. I'm just not sure what the version it went up to, but it's one of the Villains updates. Let's see. Hang on, I need to try to make this thing work properly. Where's my cursor? Oh, I know that's not going to show up good in the recording, but oh well, that's fine. Let's see. You know, that's just it. There are so few people playing Dwarf Fortress out there. There are a few good players that play lots of other stuff and occasionally play Dwarf Fortress, but there's very few regular Dwarf Fortress players. I think I might become one of them. I'm thinking of streaming on a regular basis. I know I'm planning on resuming my regular video content as much as I can. So I'm really looking forward to that. I want to put out a video with the Dwarf Fortress Sometimes player Zavellin. I really like her work. Some of the people I admire haven't been doing as much or any stuff lately. I'm kind of a fan of BirdieBot, for instance. Let's see. some of the people I like the most quit. The Quill 18 is a version is an example of a guy that does all sorts of stuff and sometimes plays Dwarf Fortress, but he's not very good at it, and so sometimes it hurts me to watch him because he does bad map arrangements or his guys get killed early by something that someone who locked up their fortress properly would have been saved by. So I actually like Quill, but sometimes he makes me cringe. And don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of his work. the Yeah, yeah. Um, oh, what was it? So yeah, all right. I just passed the hour mark. I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to thank my friends who showed up. I'd like to thank my fans who showed up. I'd like to thank any random people from YouTube who somehow found this, which I know they do. So this has been really exciting. I've had a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to doing this a lot more soon. And I'm going to quit while I'm ahead in the sense that if I stop now, I know my recording will be preserved. And I feel like, again, part 3 here has been a tremendous success. I'm getting nothing but positive vibes from this. So thanks everyone for your questions. Thanks everyone for your support. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again real soon. Bye-bye.